Westway Trust AGM 2018-19. My name is Angela Spence and I'm the interim chair of the Westway Trust, and I have been since June this year, the interim chair. Just some formalities I'll go through. So, following previous concerns around privacy that we've had from individuals and member organisations, we're asking that visitors do refrain from filming or taking photographs during the AGM, and that's because we will be filming the AGM, so the Westway Trust, and we'll make the film available through Westway Trust's Facebook page and on their YouTube channel, and on the website. So all members should have received a voting card. If you haven't, please do get one. And please raise your voting card when we ask you to do so we can count them. And we'll take the formal business of the AGM first. So we'll go through the formal business of the AGM, and then at the end we're going to give an opportunity and hopefully time for discussion, so Q&A to the Westway Trust board, and to anyone else, all the staff that are here representing Westway Trust. There's an opportunity for us to have that dialogue. So before we go any further, I would ask that we have set 2 seconds silence in honour of those who lost their lives. Well, thank you. Right, I'll start with apologies that we've received from members. So we've had 2 apologies, one from Westway Community Transport and another from Akava. Right, I'm going to move on to the minutes of last year's AGM. So you should all have the minutes in your pack. So if anyone doesn't have a copy, there are some copies on the table. So we do need to have just go through the minutes, and if we can agree them as an accurate record of what took place, what was recorded from last year's AGM.
Sent through a written question to the Westway Trust, and that question was to do with the provision of sports. It wasn't asking about free or subsidised access. So you've included on page 9, second bullet point, his written question as if it is a group of questions asking about subsidised or free for young people, groups and schools. That's incorrect. Right. So we would like his written question included, please. He sent a written question through.
Yes. We'll have to take the question from the record and circulate that. So, we'll have to take the written question from the record and circulate that and add it to the minutes, to the official record.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Right, if there's nothing else, for those in favour of accepting the minutes, can you use your card? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Sorry? Two abstentions. Thank you. Right. So we'll move on to ordinary resolutions. So this is to receive the trustees' annual report on accounts and the auditor's report for the year ending 31st of March 2019. Again, if you don't have a copy, there's some on the table. What we've done this year is produced, and you should have copies of the three booklets. And this is to make the information far more accessible and digestible. But the full report is there and available for everyone. If you look at Westway in numbers, which is the orange booklet, that's a breakdown of the finances. For members who have received the report, do you have any questions on the accounts? Yes.
Just a couple for Mark to help me understand page 12. It's the financial review summary. Third line down, second line down, talks about the Bay 20 donated asset of £2 million. Oh, sorry.
So there's the Bay 20 donated asset of £2 million on page 12. I couldn't find where that was added to the overall sort of list of net assets, which presumably have gone up by at least £2 million. The other thing I didn't understand, and I should have asked this last year because there's an equivalent item, is non-cash rental income as a negative on that summary. I guess that's an accounting thing, but I don't understand that accounting thing.
Sorry, can you just repeat the second point on?
So there are two. So recognised income is £8 million,
Yep.
minus £2 million, minus 675,000.
Yeah.
But how can income be a minus? Obviously that's to do with the way you're doing the sums, but I don't understand. So I'd love to. Thanks.
So first of all, the easy one, please, which is the donated asset, which is Bay 20, the buildings in Bay 20, they've gone into charity buildings. So note 11 on page 40, there is the first table there, cost, the opening figure, the additions, and then the donated asset, £2 million in that table. So the value of charity buildings has gone up. That's note 11 on page 40.
I can see that, but it just doesn't. Okay, so it's in a separate kind of category of its own, charity buildings, rather than on page 12 investment property.
Yeah.
Note 12
Yeah,
investment property.
I'm afraid it's one of those sort of charity accounting things where investment assets that generate rental income have to be shown as investment assets, whereas these assets which are donated for community use and don't generate a rent and are fully used for charitable purposes are shown separately as charity buildings.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that they're in a separate
So
place.
it's a sort of
Yeah.
separate kind of ring fence.
And so the second question, which is analysing our income, there are some technical accounting rules to deal with the way we have to treat lease income. Where we have leases where there is a rent-free period, we have to average out the rental income over the entire lease. So, for example, on the sports centre, we receive a rent and it goes up during the course of the contract. It goes up actually from 1st of April, just past. And the advertising towers as well, when they rebuilt those, there was a rent-free period while they undertook the construction. We have to average out the rental income over the length of the lease and recognise it on an average basis, but it's not cash. So in the accounts, we're showing more income than we actually received in cash. So what we're doing for the purpose of this analysis is taking the accounting income, reconciling it back to the cash we received, and then we're accounting for how we spent the cash. That's what we are trying to do in that financial analysis.
Thank you.
But it's a horrible accounting.
It's some sort of rule about averages.
It is, yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, Monica.
Just a very quick question. Is one of the things I think is important in numbers is membership, and I can't see anywhere in any of the excellent booklets. The numbers we have are sort of data or finances, and I think it's very important that we know the number of members, who the members are, decreases, increasing, and what's happening, as we are a membership organisation. And I just wondered, was that just an oversight or what?
Yeah, this was raised with me last week actually by the members and saying actually we need to have them recognised in the booklet. So it's been noted. There's 72 members. The membership is made up of the voluntary non-profit sector working in North Kensington, delivering for residents in North Kensington. We have stripped back some of those organisations that weren't doing, didn't have that relevance because we've shrunk down our area of benefit to the North Kensington area. So it has changed a wee bit. We've also said that we're not looking to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of members just for the sake of membership, but we want to have organisations who will work with us, with the trust, with the rest of North Kensington. So it would, we're quite sort of particular about who then comes forward and is involved with us from that perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yes.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up question? I understand that the Regeneration Trust has been, you've attempted to contact them for up to 2 years now. They haven't responded. The word on the street, of course, is they're a shill organisation connected with Rockfielding Mellon, and I'd like to know why they haven't been thrown off the roster.
I think they are off the roster, Piers.
They've got a voting card outside.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. We did undertake a review of members. We tried to contact everyone. We just haven't put that through the relevant committee, and there has to be a board resolution. We just haven't completed that process. But those non-responsive organisations we will take through.
I have been asking about the Regeneration Trust for some time now.
Yeah, we will do that in the next round.
Yeah, we'll make sure that comes to the Nominations and Governance Committee the next meeting. Thank you. Is there any other questions? If that's yes.
In the orange booklet, on page 13, you list the community investments, and you've got 106,000 for Bay 20 support. Is that expected to be an annual amount?
Yeah, the Bay 20 figure there is made up of a few things, but we do expect to be subsidising the building, yes. I think we've said to the operator that we would support them to the tune of around sort of 75,000 a year to make sure that we can do all the community projects that are required and that it's accessible and affordable for the people that want to use them. And we will be supporting on the maintenance as well. But it is a new building, so we shouldn't incur too much in the early years. But yes, we will be subsidising it.
Right, if there's no other questions. Okay. Right, so can I have a proposer for the motion to receive the trustees' annual report and the accounts? Thank you. So, a seconder? Thank you. Those in favour of the accounts? Thank you. Those against? Those wishing to abstain? 2. 4. Thank you. Now we move on to the ordinary resolution to reappoint Mo Kingston Smith as the Westway Trust auditors and to authorise the trustees to fix their remuneration. Right. So, can I have a proposer? Thank you, Tom. Seconder? Tanya. Those in favour? Those against? Anyone wishing to abstain? 2. 3. Okay. Right. So, any other business? We didn't receive any notification of any other business. But we're welcome to take questions when we go through the Q&A section. So if that's the case, is everyone happy that we close the formal business? Yes? Thank you. Okay. So before we move on to the Q&A session, I just wanted to say a few words about the board, really, and in terms of the journey that we've been on since we met last year. So, as a board, I think we've really reflected on where we are as a board, and particularly since the last AGM, and really trying to see how we as a board and responsible for Westway Trust can move the organisation forward. I think we have a duty to do that, to ensure that we are listening to the community and taking responsibility for moving the organisation in the way in which the community wants it to go. So I think as a board we've started to learn and understand how we can do better, and how Westway Trust can grow as a learning organisation, and that it's an organisation that embraces change and progress. So I know that we won't always get it right. I think we acknowledge that, and we do want to hear from you. We need to keep hearing from from the residents, from our community, about what we are not getting right, so that we can know what we need to get right. But we are focused absolutely on listening, and we are keen to fulfil the ambitions of the community. So during 2018-19, we started to rethink our purpose in relation to the estate and commercial developments. We have been focusing on what we, on the plans that we currently have, and looking at what we need to do more of. But I think it's true to say that we wanted to put more emphasis and more focus and attention on what we are currently doing, rather than thinking about future plans. And this is particularly in relation to the estate development, because we wanted to ensure that what we're doing at the moment, is it right? Should we be focusing on those things, or should we be doing something different? And in that regard, we decided to pause on thinking about and moving forward on any future estate development for the time being, while we focused on projects that should have been underway long before now. And the stables is one example of that, in terms of really trying to help get the stables up and running again. And I know that it's taking time, and it will take time. But we, as a board, we're really keen to see that the stables, which are well loved in the community, that's brought back into community use. So we are prioritising that as a board. Another aspect of the journey that we've undertaken throughout 2018-19 is review into institutional racism. And I think now we believe we've really started to build a firm foundation to be able to welcome the review, the outcome and the findings of the report, and to follow through on its recommendations. The report isn't here yet, it's still in draft form, but we are hoping that we will receive it, and receive it soon. And in the plan for looking at what comes out of the institutional review, and how we move forward as an organisation, we want to hold an extraordinary general meeting, and hopefully that will take place early next year, when the report is published. And so you'll hear more about that in the new year, about the extraordinary general meeting and what we'll want to do there. Because I think it's important that when we do get the report and its recommendations, that the community that are involved in how the trust moves forward in response to that report. So throughout our time as trustees, and I'm sure you're all aware of the hatch and fluid work that's been going on, and out of that has come a list of priorities, and the board has been looking at those priorities and what's emerged out of hatch and fluid, and this is something that we will be taking into account much more as we move forward in response to change at the trust. Because the work that was done tells us about what the estate and plans for the estate and what the community want to see in terms of the development of the estate for and the role that Westway Trust can play in that. So I think it's really important that we take our time and make sure we get that right in terms of what we develop going forward with regards to estate development. Another thing that we've been doing as well is as an organisation, we've set up the Charitable Purposes Committee, which was a new committee. And part of that role has been looking at participatory grant making. And in terms of that, we've well, I'd like to think, hopefully, that we are working with the community in developing a new way of putting communities at the heart of decision making in response to how we spend funding within the trust. So our participatory grant making process has been underway, and that's what the Charitable Purpose Committee and those who are all involved in that have been involved in developing that process. And that's something that you'll get to hear more of as we develop it further, because we think that this can set a model for trust in the future about how communities are more involved in how the grant funds are spent within the trust. So you, you may recognise, or you may not, but the number of the board members has gone down. So throughout the year, we did lose some board members, and I think those that are now remaining on the board are the ones we see as committed, and I definitely have worked with these board members and know that they've been committed over the past year to helping to move the trust forward. Courtees as well. I'd like to say thank you to the courtees who have been involved in the trust and all the work that they've been doing. And I think you can probably recognise that from the people that are all sat at the front that they work and live locally. I hold my hands up. I work locally, but I don't live locally. But we are now, I think, we are majority, not all, work and live locally. So it is progress moving forward. One of the things that we did as a board in terms of doing things differently, we put a lot of time into recruiting a new chair and developing a process which we felt we would probably demonstrate much more how, as an organisation, we are listening to the community. So we wanted to work with the community in the recruitment process, and we did set up a community selection panel to work with us on this. And the recruitment process was long, and I think for those who were involved with us on the board, I would like to believe it was quite a rewarding experience in going through that process. And we've come to the end of that process, and we do have a chair in waiting is the title. And that chair in waiting is Toby, and Toby is here at the back. Thank you. So, just in closing, we are continuing the journey. We're working far more towards Westway Trust being an organisation that responds to the needs of the community. We started the journey. I know there's a long way to go, and I think we're on good ground for doing much more now. And I know that we can't erase the past. I wouldn't try to. I don't think we should. But hopefully we can start to look forward, and I'm hoping that 2020 is the start of a new and hopeful decade for the community and for the Trust. So thank you.
Can you hear me without the microphone? It's easier if I can do it without. Can you hear me? Okay?
Yeah,
No?
really.
Not really? Prefer the mic? Yeah. Okay.
Hi everybody, I'm Alex. I'm Joint Chief Exec of Westway Trust, and I welcome you all today. Thanks so much for coming. We do appreciate the engagement of members, not just at this meeting, but throughout the course of the year. I know that we've held several meetings over the course of the year, and we've involved members in a whole load of different consultation engagement exercise, and we value the relationship and the feedback we get. So please do keep it coming. I was with some of you last week actually, and we talked about the strategy and how it's going. We talked about the Tutu review, and people asked me questions about that, as well as Bay 20. And what was really great about that engagement was that everybody was embracing the changes that are happening and that are, into the future with real optimism. and they were expressing to me that we should be embracing this change optimistically, and they were going to be standing with us as we go through the next stage of transformation. And I was really buoyed by that conversation, and I hope we can do more of that in the months ahead, because there's a lot more to talk about in terms of where this organisation is going and the strategy and the direction we should take. So encourage everybody to stay involved with that conversation. You've received the booklets and the CEO report. As Angela said, it's a kind of new way of doing things. We're trying to be more transparent, make the information a bit more accessible. And if you have feedback on any of it, or we've missed something, or you want more information, or something needs to be presented in a different way, please tell us, because we're just going to evolve it, because it has to work for people. If it's impenetrable, it's pointless. So please, don't be shy in coming forward. So I'm not going to go through, line by line, what we put out in the CEO report, but Mark and I will do a double act and share some of our reflections from the year, what we've learnt, and what we've still got to do. It has been a challenging year. There's been a lot of change at the Trust, there's a lot of change at governance level, that makes it uncertain for us. We've had some staff changes. Marie is at the back, but she's moving on from the Trust, and we've lost a number of people. And I just want to pay tribute to all of those people who made a contribution to Westway Trust. Everybody played their part in helping us move on, and that's current staff, but also those staff that have chosen to move on. They will be greatly missed. So despite all those challenges, we are making progress, and Angela did talk a bit about that in her address. I'll try not to repeat that, but we are making progress. So 18 months ago we set out our stall, and our stall was very clear that we wanted to be together with the community, enabling North Kensington to continue to thrive. And that was a reformed purpose that we brought together from lots of conversations with numbers of people. And it's something that we have just led by, try to keep it really simple. But at the heart of it is this sense of togetherness and the sense of participation. Angela talked a little bit about that in her address, but it's about participation in everything that we do. So from being in the boardroom, a co-op-D, being part of subcommittees, community groups, running small ventures, setting up CICs, being part of the staff team, helping on grants panels, being a grants receiver. It's about everybody in this community feeling that they can participate in that, and us being open to that, and us encouraging people to be part of that. And so we've made steps on that journey, and we're definitely not there yet. I think I would like to point to the setting up of the steering group of Bay 20 and how that was done. There was a community panel that selected a group of people to sit on that community steering group, and they've appointed a community operator. We have taken a different approach and facilitated there. We set up a community advisory group to the Tutu review, and that's Westway Trust sitting alongside people who brought claims about institutional racism, and us together working that through with Tutu. We don't influence content, but we do talk about how the process works and how we can get more people engaged in the exercise. And then we talk about participatory grant making, which I'm very excited about, and I think Angela's right. This could be something which runs through the whole of the organisation. We have launched a green infrastructure fund, which hopefully some of you have seen last week, and that's a real demonstration of that, where the beneficiaries and those people who will benefit from that and the community groups will have a say in where that allocation of money goes. It won't be Westway Trust deciding it, it will be those people in receipt of the money. Excuse me, of the money. And then finally, we've run a big exercise on community land use, and we have allowed an organisation to work with the community to lead a new strategy about what the land could look like. Again, that needs much more conversation with the community about the projects that we take forward, but it's being driven by community input. It hasn't been a Westway Trust driven thing. So those are some of the examples of our new approach. I'm going to hand over to Mark, who can talk a bit more about some others.
That means I've got to stand up and use a mic as well. Okay. one of the other ways in which we're trying to change the trust is changing the way that we use the land and use this estate. So, for example, you'll all have seen the pod sitting in Thorpe Close, and since they've opened, 18 local businesses have been able to use them to develop their businesses. We've got a new way of doing leases. We've introduced a matrix assessment that attempts to balance the sustainability of the potential tenant with training opportunities, local employment, and the way that those businesses and organisations will animate the space. The first unit that became available in Portobello Road during the year, we used that matrix assessment. So we invited tenders for the space, we used the matrix assessment, and we awarded a lease to Portobello Shack on the basis of a really exciting proposal that has a lot of training opportunities built in. I recognise that obviously all businesses have their teething problems, as we discussed earlier, Bob. But it's a different way of looking at leases that involves more than just looking at the financial analysis. We've got 3 more examples of units that we've let in Portobello Green Arcade that we've used the same approach. We've also put on, as Angela said, we've put on hold new commercial developments for the time being. We're focusing on investing in the existing estate, and all future developments are going to have to be genuinely community-led. We'll be undertaking a fundamental review of our cultural spaces in the coming months. It won't be a short process, it'll be in-depth, to see how we can best use those spaces for the benefit of the whole community. So changes taking place, and it's certainly not easy, and we've certainly learned some lessons along the way. It's required us to change our mindset, to become facilitators and enablers rather than prescribers. Involving more people in decision making does mean that those decisions take longer to make. And measuring impact, the way we measure impact, that has to change, because it's not just about producing numbers, it's about assessing the way that we, the levels of engagement and belonging. There are tensions in this process of change. We want to make sure that the quietest voices are also heard, and that the Trust can represent the aspirations for the whole community and communities in North Kensington. And as we move on to the next stage of the transformation, we will be reflecting on our learnings from the last 18 months. We will be, we'll certainly have to digest the recommendations that are coming out of the tutor review. We've also done a lot of findings in hatch and fluid that have to be built into our plans. We certainly will need to be addressing air pollution and look at how we can best reduce our carbon footprint. Reparations and inclusivity will certainly be part of our forthcoming plans, and we need to accelerate the way in which our residents are involved in the decision making throughout the Trust. So that's just an overview of how we've seen the year has gone and the way things, the direction of travel and the transformation. We think there are masses of great opportunities ahead, and we look forward to discussing those opportunities with all of you over the coming months. So thank you very much for your ongoing support and engagement with the Trust.
Right, okay, so there's an opportunity now to ask us any questions. I'm going to ask first of all if there's any questions from member organisations. If any member organisations have any questions first, and then after that we'll just open it up to the whole floor. So do any member organisations? Yes, please.
Mark, as you know, I've talked to you quite a lot about what you're doing to engage better with the resident organisations, resident associations within the 5 wards who are the primary beneficiaries. There are all sorts of angles to this. On the one hand, although I was asked personally my views into the Tutu report, Silchester Residents Association was not asked formally. Similarly, I've complained to you about the fact that we constantly have film crews parked up outside here and outside the Westway Sports Centre, and yet there isn't a courtesy call to us just to let us know what's going on. So 2 questions really. One, what are you doing to engage with RAs more, to encourage more RAs to join? I previously suggested to you that possibly RAs could have 2 votes in this room because of, I don't know, there's 64 members, 12 trustees, there are 76 votes that run this organisation. And secondly, how are you going to improve the line of communication with those of us who live, you know, the lee of the Westway?
Piers, I'll answer your membership actually, and Mark can answer on the trucks. On membership, I know that Gary went out and spoke to all the RAs in the 5 wards, and he made a direct beeline to everybody, and not everybody came back, if I'm honest. We didn't have a great response, but it is something that we need to pick up again, because you know, just doing it once isn't enough. We need to keep going and think about the incentives for why people should be part of this network. So I do take that on board, absolutely. In terms of the CAG and the Tutu report and how we were engaging with that, I mean, one of the reasons why the report is so delayed is because we, as a group, felt that we needed to go out multiple times to groups in North Kensington and those people affected, and it takes real time. I mean, the feedback we got was that because this is such a deep-seated issue, a lot of people didn't want to come forward, they didn't trust the process. And so we had to work really hard with the people that are on the committee and the wider network to encourage people to come forward and make them feel comfortable that this would be a process which was not going to be influenced by the trust at all, that it was completely separate and it was with people who know kind of how to do these things. And so that took a hell of a lot of time. So we did, and throughout all of that period we were promoting. So I feel as if we did a huge amount there. And I know that Nadia went out and saw some specific groups that the CAG had recommended should be interviewed. And I think the CAG felt that we'd done enough by going out sort of multiple times, and that we had to just kind of, you know, draw a line. So apologies if we didn't get to you guys, but you know, I felt that we did quite a reasonable effort in getting to those people that we thought would have something to say.
If I might just answer that quickly, what I'm really calling for is respect for the Constitution of the Westway Trust. We are the member organisations of the Westway Trust, and on something as important as the Tutu report, it doesn't seem to be beyond the wit of a bureaucracy to directly ask each of the member organisations if they have anything to contribute, because at the end of the day we are the members.
The members would have been asked. I mean, that did happen, because we contacted all of our communication channels, whether that was through all the newsletters and all the output, and it was heavily promoted.
I'm just saying a letter to
okay.
64 members.
Fine.
I think on the other issue, I mean, yes, there are film crews, and there is filming space, obviously, in London. There's a shortage of venues. That works quite well. But we've always taken the view there's enough space there to make these things work. If it's not working, then I'll certainly meet with you and any other interested parties to see how we can get that to work better together, rather than stopping it, see if we can get it to work that doesn't impede access and residents. You know, there are rights of way, public rights of way over spaces in the Westway Sports Centre. We've got to make sure they're maintained, so I'll happily engage with you on that.
Mark, if I might say exactly the same thing again, my point was about communication. So we're happy, I was in the film business for years, to delighted to see trucks there. Can the Trust make better efforts to communicate with the member organisations, one, on the big issues, and two, on the courtesy issues, and we're parking trucks outside the maxilla, just to let you know?
I don't see any reason why we can't use the normal channels to make that people aware of that, yeah. We'll take that as an action.
Any other questions? This lady here, and then we'll come to you after.
Hello, it's Ruth Hillary from the West London Bowling Club. I'm interested in two aspects, and it's to do with participation. How are people selected for the participatory grant process first? And also, how are people selected for the community advisory group?
So on participatory grants, we've invited all previous grant recipients and people who've been unsuccessful to be part of this. I understand, I think member organisations have been contacted, and so to be part of it. So at the moment we're in the middle of the sort of consultation phase, if you like, to understand how this would work for North Kensington. So there isn't a blueprint that we just say, right, this is how we do it, and then it carries on. So we're doing the consultation phase at the moment. We're asking people about the process that they think would be appropriate for this part of town, and then from there we will have a process by which we can administer it. So that's on that one. In terms of the community advisory group to the Tutu report, we worked with the Tutu Foundation to understand how, first of all, what outcomes we wanted from this. And I suppose the thing for us was to get to the truth. You know, these are very serious allegations, allegations that we wanted to address. We didn't want to just push to one side, as had been done before. And also we wanted to work with the group that were making these claims to build a bridge and to build a friendship and to build a partnership and to be able to move forward together. So when we were looking at who we needed to work with to do that, we did an exercise of research to find out who sort of done this work before. And Tutu Foundation was one of the ones that came forward. And in consultation with them, they said, look, you need to, it's sort of a truth and reconciliation process here, and you need to work with the people that have raised the issues and ask them how they want to be involved and involve them in the process. So it's a very specific piece of work that affects a cohort of people. And so we said, yeah, we'll do that if that's the way you think is the best way to approach this. And there isn't a blueprint, there's not a roadmap for this. This is pioneering work. It doesn't get done by many organisations. So it's not like any other ordinary project that we do. So we followed what they said, and I stand by that. I think that's the right decision. And we've worked with people who've come forward to say, look, I can contribute to this. I know about this. I've been affected by this, and I want to play a part in this. And that's how we've done it, and that's how we put together the people we have, for right or for wrong. And I think it's the right decision, and I think we'll get to a good end point. We're not there yet, but we're on a journey with it.
Can I just come back on the grant participatory process? So you have actually asked member organisations whether they would like to be involved in this. So are you expecting us to say yes or no, whether we're applying for a grant or not?
Monica, you might have to help me out here because you know a bit more about it than I do. Do you mind if because Monica's been leading this, do you mind if I ask her to respond? Is that all right, Monica?
I can briefly, very, very briefly. I think there is still time. It's just starting.
In what capacity are you speaking, Monica?
Sorry. In what capacity? I'm speaking as a co-optee on the Charitable Purposes Committee and as a member of the steering group of participatory grant making and as the trustee last year that introduced this concept. Is that all right? And so it's still in process, but I just wanted to say briefly that there were posters put out and there was a series of workshops from about, I think it's about 9 months ago now. And now there's the second phase is an advisory group to actually talk about what would participation look like in the North Kensington context, as Alex has said. So it's certainly, there's always problems when and how people find out about things. So it certainly is not too late to be involved in the steering group. And probably some of the issues, it was on the website, it went to members, it went to previous grant recipients and failed, and a lot of posters went up, but I agree it's not been clear. But there is still time, and if anybody wishes to come forward, we have 15 people who came forward and said they wanted to be on the advisory group. Nobody was turned away because everybody's got experience of what is required and what participation might look like. And we probably have about 6 to 8 people at the meetings, and we do need a much wider input. So please, it is not a done and dusted thing. It's going to go on for some months.
Okay, finally, just one last point. I'd like to echo this gentleman's comment about the courtesy of you running your the estate, as it were, and the noise pollution that comes from activities on the football pitches. Not from the regular playing the football, but it seems like you rent it out to some sort of parties sometimes, and the noise that comes from that is substantial for the local residents who are backing onto those pitches and somewhat further from that. I have communicated with the sports, I don't know whether it was director at the time, and I didn't get a very positive response to say that they were going to do anything about it. But it happens normally on Saturdays and Sundays, particularly on Sundays, and it's disturbing to local residents.
Okay, so I think I'll need a little more detail of that. I mean, I am aware of there was one event that went through the night, which was a fundraiser for charity, and local residents were notified in advance, and there was only one that I was aware of. If it's happening on a regular basis, again, I don't have details, but I'll have to discuss that, and again, we can take that up with everyone active, because there are very strict guidelines in terms of when noise is made and when things have to finish and lights go off. It sounds to me as if the noise is during the day rather than after things are meant to have finished. But if you can give me more information on that, we can certainly take it up, because it's not the intention. Obviously, you know, sports pitches make the regular noise that comes out of a sports activity, but if there's more than that, perhaps you could we could have a discussion on that later. Thank you.
Was the lady behind you? Do you still want to ask?
Is it just member group questions?
Can you say where you are?
Hello. Oh yes, Meg MacDonald, I'm a member of the public.
This is just, at the moment, we're just doing member organisations. We will come to you.
Okay.
Are there any other members?
Could I just say that lady's point was similar to mine, insofar as, is it possible for you to consider us as the first line of your marketing? If you need to outreach, the first people you should talk to are the 64 member organisations who between us represent all your beneficiaries.
Yeah, okay. Right, thank you. Are there any other member organisations before we open it up? No? Okay. So, any other questions from the floor? Do you still have your questions?
I think Jacob is waiting.
Jacob? Oh, she's waiting. Okay.
Hi, Meg
Right.
MacDonald,
Yeah.
resident. I want to know more about, you said earlier that you were looking at leases and you're looking at them in a different way. And I want to know more about that. Will this affect the leases that you've already given out? And what are those that you're intending to give out in the future? How are you talked about matrix assessment? Could you expand upon that, please?
Well, no, so any leases that are already in issue and we have tenants in units, those leases continue and will continue. We're not going to change existing tenancies. It's more about the way that we look at potential tenants when there are applications for new tenancies, that instead of just looking at a straightforward balance of can you pay the rent, there are other aspects to take into account. Having a mixed a balance of aspects. The trust will always need to generate income from the estate. That's what pays and subsidises a lot of the direct charitable expenditure. But it's not just the income, it is, as I said before, training opportunities, employment of local people, the animation of the space, the cultural activities that may be offered from those units. So in looking at who's applying for vacant space, we would have a more mixed economy approach. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you. Jacob?
Hello, yeah, so I'm speaking, my name is Jacob Retty. I'm speaking as a resident. Grew up in the area, and as a child I played underneath the Westway. I have my whole life sort of memories of the Westway. So last year it was brought up that the members needed to have their own meetings because meetings weren't able to function because certain things were happening which were preventing member groups from doing their business, the regular, them having their say. And I felt that the cause of that was wrongly put on people who were having to bring up again and again sort of the same issues. I don't see removing those people from the meetings as the solution, rather actually dealing with the issues that we're bringing forward would be the way to solve general meetings being able to do their business. I felt like I was being made to be like a trouble person, and that I was causing trouble and preventing the meetings from going ahead. A lot of the same issues are still there, and I don't like to say it, and I don't have anything personally against Alex or Mark, but I think you should go. And on many accounts. Firstly, I think you take home an enormous salary, and we have food banks, people getting food banks in this area, and we have literally hundreds of people doing enormous amounts of work in this area, voluntary, putting ourselves out, for nothing, and we're struggling, and that you are on such enormous a salary might be comparable, your position might be comparable outside of here, with other institutions, but for people in this area, there are huge amounts of money that I just don't agree with. Also, there's the issue with how long can you keep going on and saying, like failing us with the stables. When is it actually going to happen? When you say, actually, you failed with the stables. You can't just keep saying each year, next year, it's coming along, I know it's going to take time. You can't, that's not acceptable from my point of view. You can't keep telling us another year it's going to come, another year it's going to come. When you have to say, like there's a cut-off where you've actually failed, right? You know, you have failed, and that's that. And, you know, you destroyed the stables, and at that point you got caught. And at that point you should have gone, as far as I'm concerned, because you thought you could get away with it, but you couldn't because the community came and stepped in. Right? Then there's other spaces that I feel are controversial. The Bay 20 is controversial. West Bank is controversial. Where Acklam Hall seems like a fortress, doesn't look like a community place to me. I don't know what's going on in there. It's a massive space. Again, controversial. You know, these things are hurting us. So I'm saying, you know, yes. I'm saying, you know, you need to go. That's my statement.
So, Jacob.
Yeah. Sorry for breathing into the mic.
So, yeah, okay. So, I think there's obviously a number of issues that you've raised.
I'd just like to say, sorry, I'm very grateful that you stepped in. I wanted to say in the beginning, I was very grateful that you stepped in because that enabled me to actually participate in the selection of the chair. I want to say one positive thing, not all negative. And thank you, because you did help me come in and engage with the trust, where I found it completely difficult to engage at all with the trust. So I'd just like to say, sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to say one positive thing. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. So, yeah, so I think, I mean, we can't answer questions around Alex and Mark, and I'm sure you understand that we just simply can't do that. In terms of the trust and how we move forward in response to the issues that you've raised around things like the stables and other areas like West Bank, etc., I think that's the point we're making, is that we're now at the stage where we're saying we want to be having these conversations with the community about how we now move forward as a trust, and we want those voices around the table, and I think that's the importance of signalling change, is that some of those decisions that were made in the past and how they were made, we're trying to show that actually we now want to move in a different way. So what you've raised isn't going to go away, and I would hope that this time next year you're not coming back and having to say the same thing about those spaces, that we are actually now going to embark on some real journey of change, and I would still, I would still want you to be part of those discussions, part of those decisions that will happen at the trust. If you want more detail on the stables, is there anyone who can give?
Can I just answer back, reply to that? This isn't anything personal towards Mark and Alex. I said before, I very much welcome them to come back on a community voluntary basis. But my children, the stables you knocked down, my children and other community members of the community's children helped paint and repair those stables that you knocked down. Yeah, my children and the whole community group, okay, that you knocked down. I just got to a point where, like I said, there's got to be a line where you say, they failed, and they haven't delivered the stables. They failed us with providing what we need, which is what Sarah does. She does what the trust is meant to do. She provides services that the community want. And, you know, at this time, especially, you know, after Grenfell, with the animals, you know, it was even more needed. So, as I said, from my point of view, they both need to go. And the amount of money that they're earning is when everyone's working voluntary, running around and doing brilliant things, it's not acceptable for a charity.
So I'll talk a bit about the stables, and it is unfortunate that we're sat here after 5 years and still we're in a situation where the stables has not been reopened. And you know, I'm absolutely passionate about bringing this community facility back, and I think the work that Sarah has done has been incredible. So in the last year I've become a trustee of the stables charity, and we are working with some big organisations that really want this to happen. So the Grenfell Foundation, the stables, returning the stables is going to be one of their first projects for the community. We're working with architects who are giving their time to support Sarah in getting a scheme together. We have a fundraiser, we have lots of supporters, so I think it's really unfortunate that it's taken so long. But we are in a good position now to see some real change and movement on this next year. I think the Trust have also supported Sarah with her continued involvement with that, which I think is a good thing. And yeah, I mean, I hope that next year when we're sat here, we're going to be in a better position than we've been in for the last 5 years. The other thing I would say is on change. I mean, I think it's really difficult. Change is hard, and it's painful. I do think we have tried to involve quite a number of people in this room in that journey of change, and I thank you all for being involved in that. And I think we are in a different place from where we were last year in terms of the board composition. We look quite different, I think. So, you know, I'm really hopeful that the next year we're going to see more progress. And I think that's why we're all here, why we're still here, and you know, that's what we want. So it is frustrating, and I do also think, you know, it's a big organisation with a lot of history, and I think change takes time. But for me, the stables will be a big positive symbol of that change, and you know, I'm absolutely committed to returning that facility to where it belongs, and Sarah, you know, leading it. So yeah, I mean, that's...
Can I just say one thing? Oh, sorry, I'm Sarah Tooley from the Stables. Can I just say one thing, that for the past 4 years, we've been offered a lease just before the AGM. So everyone who's sitting in this room, you know, we're hoping that we can start bringing horses in, because obviously it's going to cost quite a lot of money to build the stables, so it's got to be fundraised and whatever. So we're hoping to just bring horses into the arena, and hopefully by early next year. So if, like, you see that isn't happening, could you please all just take note that we're still not moving forward, because, you know, like every year we're offered the lease at this time, and then it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen now, we don't know, but we do need to make some progress and start to offer services back to people, rather than just continually going on. We need to bring the service back, and the quickest way is to just bring horses in until everything is built. So basically, can we all just keep an eye out that that's going to happen? Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, just to echo what Anne said, really, you know, the Trust is 100% behind this project, and it is complicated, and there's, you know, the Grenfell Foundation is fundraising. We've offered a lease some months ago now for a substantial period of time, so it gives the the charity the stability to be able to build the buildings and fundraise and plan for the long term. We've also helped Sarah in terms of providing a grant fund to build the business case, to have the all of the marketing and all the wherewithal to be able to get this project off the ground. So we absolutely support you, Sarah. We do 100%. We're behind this project. We want to see it up and running. So you have got our backing.
Any other questions from the floor? Nothing? Okay. Niles?
Niles Hillstones. Change, transformation, regeneration. Very powerful words, but words nonetheless. What Jacob just brought up was very important. No matter how it may appear to or seem to be changing, some things don't change. The stables is 5 years on. In fact, all the issues that sparked where we are now 5 years ago still remain the same. Yes, we've been offered leases, stables have been offered leases. We ourselves at the village have been offered leases. But nothing equal to the leases that dispossessed us. I just like to make it clear, because there's a lot of talk about how we were offering things and we were refusing all the time. We've only ever been offered a lease that was either 6 months or 1 year, with a guarantee that we would leave after that lease runs out and take all of our stuff out of where we were. And I refused to sign it for that reason. So I'd just like to make that clear, that is what's actually been going on. Yeah? There's a lot of issues going on in the background that I don't know if the member groups and everyone here is aware of. Are you aware that half of the board fled? Is everyone in this room aware that since the review started and the elephant in the room is presence no longer invisible, that half of the board fled? This is what's going on in the background. CAG is fighting for the truth to come to light. It's delayed for a multitude of reasons. But I'm going to give you an overview because it would be too much to go into everything tonight. I put it down, one of the main reasons why we're still in this situation is fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of something that's going to happen that's never happened before. And what corporations and big organizations tend to do when they're afraid and when they don't know what to do is go into a damage limitation mode and consult their lawyers. Now, we as community don't have the same access to lawyers. Maybe actually that has been one of our strengths, because the corporate law that protects organisations like the Westway Trust and RBKC and other people like that has set up a system that always has a get-out clause, as long as you follow the law. So the fact that we don't have lawyers is actually one of our strengths, because when people tell us we can't do something because of some law you created to protect some form of corruption, we tell you that we don't care about your law, and we're operating on a moral compass. And that's what we're operating on. If you don't want to operate on that moral compass, then do what you've got to do. And that's the sad thing about this situation, is that we've never got anything out of this without fighting for it. As a community, we've never got anything without fighting for it. And the problem still to this day is we still have to fight. we can't take our eye off the ball for a second. Even when the trust talks about transformation and change, and we're engaged in those processes, we can't take our eye off the ball for a second. That's the difference, yeah? The positions of power and privilege that you have still afford you certain luxuries that we now demand for ourselves as a community. Now, this talk of community and the trust will have to end. This is going to be the test, yeah? Is when the trust is no longer the trust in the community, but the community is the trust. Yeah, that's the only way things is going to change here. When that demographic changes, as much as you can champion that things have changed, I still don't see a black male up there. There's many things that we need to put on the table today, yeah? And it's going to be calmly, because I'm not saying nothing has changed. Things are changing. It's obvious to everyone here that things are changing. We're welcoming in a new chair soon. This is all change, yeah? But what I'm saying is, yeah, what people are expressing here today that you've heard is that we've heard all of this talk and rhetoric before, and the stable still is not open. We're still occupying Bay 56. West Bank is still running. Everything is the same as it was before 5 years ago on the ground, apart from the things that we have changed ourselves. This is the reality, yeah? So what I'm saying to you is, yeah, the biggest challenge for the trust to actually move forward now is to overcome your fears and let go of the reins, because in 2021, it will be 50 years of the Westway Trust. Now, you're either going to be celebrating community leadership and a different paradigm, or you're going to be in the throes of 50 years of the same old, 50 years of institutional racism, 50 years of disenfranchisement. It's a choice you have now. But today, we're going to set a deadline for this, because it's not going to carry on for another year. The AGM is no longer our only place where we can voice ourselves anymore. So that is changed. 5 years ago, this was the only place where things could be said. That's changed. And it's going to change more. But when the new chair comes in and things move forward and the 2 report lands, because we're not going to let go of it, because our responsibility is to all those people who gave their evidence to that review. Yeah? If the trust and the 2 worry about their reputations and law and all of that, no, it's not about yours or our reputation. It's about the truth coming to light and the responsibility we have to those people who's put into that review. And that's it. And that's what I'm going to be committed to till the last drop, that comes out. Yeah? So, in wrapping that up right now, yeah, because I'm not going to talk all night, I just want to make certain things very clear, yeah? The fear that has paralyzed this organization, yeah, needs to be dealt with. And you have to look deep inside yourselves, yeah, to deal with that, because times are changing, and I'll give it 1 year. I'm going to state here today, in a year's time, when this next AGM happens, if we can't see tangible and real changes of the issues that we've been fighting over for the last 5 years, yeah, then it will be a total failure. This is your last chance, yeah? If the stables are not open, if the village has not been dealt with and supported, and all the other issues, the West Bank hasn't been dealt with, all of these issues that started 5 years ago still exist in 2020, then you know what's going to happen in 2021. Now, shit.
Well, there isn't much more I can add to that now. So, you know, all I can say is that, you know, I think we have actually started a journey of change. You know, as I said, I think we are at an opportunity now. We have an opportunity to really demonstrate that. yes, hold us to account a year from now and see where we are. But we have started that change.
Can I just say one more thing?
Whilst you say around the black men, of course we need more black men on boards like the Westway Trust. But I am a black female, and I am here, and that shows that there has been some change. So all I'm saying is we are on the start of that journey. Give us an opportunity, give us a chance. I want to introduce a...
I'm just going to say one more thing, yeah, because it's very useful to you, because we want change, right? Yeah? Right? When you're guilty of something, the best thing you can do is accept and acknowledge it, and then humbly move forward. Yeah? When you're guilty of something, you don't champion all of the things that you've done. Yeah? You don't keep on that promotional thing of like, these are all the positive things that we've done, these are the things that we've changed. What you got to do is acknowledge what's happened and work with this community. When things have changed, the people will testify to that, not you.
I agree. I agree. I can't say any different to you. So, I want to wrap up, and yes, yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to ask a question briefly about the estate. I notice on your map of 23 acres, you've got the proposed pedestrian link to Imperial College site. So is that going ahead then? Your estate will now be linked through a pedestrian subway to the Imperial College site, is that correct?
I think that's out of our knowledge.
As far as we're aware, yes, it is going to be delivered. It is already late on the original timescale set out in the development agreement between Hammersmith and Fulham Council and Imperial College. They are still committed to deliver that. We have a team meeting with the development team organised by the project manager for Imperial College later this week. So yes, everyone is behind it. It is frustrating that it's taking so long. They've undertaken soil analyses in the last week and the week before. Soil analysis have taken 2 years ago. So we are still waiting. We are very much pressing for it. We're very much aware that it's a very popular proposal with everyone in the area, residents, businesses. As far as we know, there's no one who's against this, so we are pushing very hard for this to be delivered, but we are frustrated. As far as we're aware, yes, it is still going to be delivered.
Okay, is there any last questions before we close? No, okay. Is Toby there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you wish to say a few words, Toby, at all?
Maybe a couple. I'll say something.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see once again a pretty full room in here, as it has been for the past 5 years. It's difficult for me really to condense into a couple of minutes what has been a 5-year journey for me and for those around me who have been particularly close to me, who have basically brought me to this point. So I think the first thing I'd just like to say is I'd like to just give all my thanks to those people, particularly those who have been part of the Westway 23 campaign, particularly Niles, who has given us the strength and the leadership and his continual absolute commitment to this change over the past 5 years. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the significant number of people who have taken part in that campaign, many of whom are here around me this evening. So thank you very much to all of those. There are also people as well who, whilst they are not part of the campaign, they have absolutely been working with us and have been supporting us in all sorts of ways. You all know who you are, and again I'd like to say my sincere thanks to you, because this has been a massive effort to get someone like me into a position to be chair of this organisation. I mean, what that means on paper is simply that you go and see who has been chair of this organisation for the past 50 years. I'm an individual who grew up close by, just down by Shepherd's Bush roundabout. I've lived my entire life with precarious income, with a single mother, with a parent who sadly passed away when I was a child. I've grown up in this area most of my life, and I've always found this 23 acres to be a place that unfortunately has not welcomed me, has not been a space that I've felt has really supported someone like me, who I believe should have been a prime candidate for support from this 23 acres. Those people who have traditionally led this organisation are on the different end of the spectrum to me. That is just a simple fact. So I'm very proud to be here today to represent change, but I'm absolutely clear and unequivocal that I am one single step towards change. And we are at the beginning of something. We have worked for 5 years to get to the start line. And so I would really ask all of you to really remember that we're at the start. And we have got an incredible amount of work ahead of us to ensure that this organisation, another 5 years from now, is radically different from what we have seen over the past 50 years. This organisation needs to be an organisation that we are proud of, that we are happy with, that we feel supported by, that we feel engaged with, and if not, you know, it's all right if you don't feel engaged with it, but you know it's doing good things. It needs to be an organisation that listens to people's complaints, that listens to people's issues, engages fully with those issues, and presents workable solutions, and moves ahead wherever it can with all on board. There's going to be all sorts of disagreements and arguments in this community, as there always are, about every single thing that happens. Because that's the reality of this being a community and being a family. But these 23 acres need to do more than they have been doing. And I truly believe that they can. So I'm looking forward to taking on the role of chair. My decision is that I will take that on once the Tutu Foundation review is published and the line is drawn that I can personally respond to. And then I look forward to being here, to being open to speaking with people, to being a public face of this organisation, as all of the other trustees have agreed to be, so that you will recognise the people who run this organisation. We will not be any more people who live on the other side of the hill, people with views that are diametrically opposed to ours. It will be an organisation that you do know one way or another. And I look forward again, as I say, to helping all of us start this journey and continue it in a trajectory that we can all have some trust in. And finally, I would just like to say, as someone who's been a part of a number of campaigns in this area, I'm always, of course, acutely aware that one of the reasons we are in the place that we are right now, with campaigns that are seeing some success, a campaign at the college that is receiving around £36 million of central government support, a campaign that has seen our landmark library not become a private school. We would not be in the position we are in now if it were not for the loss of at least 72 people. And we cannot let those people down. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to add to that in going forward that as change, the talkies have changed today. One thing that we've always done is do our minute silence for those who've been on this journey but are no longer with us. Toby, of course, has just mentioned Grenfell, but I'd also like to mention some of the people that was on this journey with us who's no longer with us also. You know, people like Tim Burke, who was a regular in these meetings, you know. Quite a few people, Eric Price, you know. There's quite a few people that have passed on. Amanda, you know. They used to be in these meetings, man. And then they didn't get to see the changes that's happening now. But we owe it to them to make sure that we build a better future now. And it is possible. But like I said, you need to let go of the reins. So in that feeling of that tradition, let's all let go of the reins for a minute. And let's remember those who come before us, who contributed to this movement, and also those who lost their lives in Grenfell. Ashe. Ashe, thank you. Let's start to plant those trees, yeah, that we will not get to sit in the shade of, right? Blessed.